Good morning. I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading, and thank you for tuning into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, where we take an in-depth look at some of the evolving or changing dynamics in our financial markets, our economy, both domestically as well as abroad. Um, I have with me my co-host, Chris Agelastos. Good morning, Chris. How are you this fine day?
Doing well. Good to see you.
And it is a fine day indeed. We went to, here in Arizona, went from having highs in the maybe high 50s, low 60s last week, and now all of a sudden we're getting close to 80 degrees. It's actually quite nice.
Yeah, nobody feels bad for us even with the 50-degree part though, but that that is cold for us here in the valley.
Well, I'm just saying this to encourage people to, take a look at maybe their next vacation stay, come to Arizona. There's a lot of great things to do. This week we have the Waste Management Open, which what do they call
That's
that?
right.
The funnest, is it the best party on grass or some kind of party on grass? I
It's
can't remember
definitely
how
a big party. I can vouch for
it's.
that.
They say not as big this year. They're going to try and tone it down. Then we have a Super Bowl on Sunday with the Chiefs and the Eagles, and
Yeah,
I'm not going to say where my allegiance lies, but go Chiefs, go Kingdom. So, all right,
very
well, let's get right
discreet.
into it here. Let's talk about some money stuff. Our first article, de-dollarization, Trump tariff threats could bulldoze U.S. dollar. Here's how. Now, this is really interesting because this headline, this title alone, Trump's tariffs were intended to help bolster the U.S. dollar, to save the U.S. dollar. But now they're saying, watch your guru here, and there are several others as well, that Trump's tariffs actually are threatening to bulldoze the U.S. dollar. So
Yep.
what's interesting about this is that I don't really think Trump's going to back down all that much on the tariffs because there've already been some steps or strides made there with was it Canada and Mexico, I believe,
Yeah.
right out of the chutes. So how in the world? Tell us how this works. His tariffs. How is that going to bulldoze, as they put it, the U.S. dollar?
Right. Well, one of the big reasons that others, BRICS, to name one organization, have been trying to get away from the dollar is because the U.S. tends to use it for leverage, right? We've all heard the term, weaponizing the dollar. And this is a perfect example of that. Him talking about tariffs because there are some things he doesn't like and he wants to use that as a negotiating tool. But for those that it's being used upon, these other nations, that's frustrating for them. So it could further motivate them to dump the dollar because this is what kind of got them into it. Tariffs certainly now, but also sanctions, which we've talked a lot about, are just different ways to use your currency to gain leverage over others. So so people don't like it at the end of the day, right? Other countries, and that's what is going to be interesting here to see if the U.S. dollar has enough power and leverage to coerce these nations into doing what we want essentially, or if at some point they're going to say enough is enough and completely back away from the dollar, or even just further move down that path. So
Sure.
yeah, it'll be it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he does say a lot of things and doesn't necessarily um, implement them all to the extreme level with which he speaks, right? But then again, he's certainly capable of it. So we'll have to keep watching this one.
Well, you're 100% correct, but that's the thing that I find interesting about this is that the normally his threats are to yield some kind of a result. He's looking for an outcome of some kind, and that's what really kind of takes you back with this article is like his threat in and of itself actually is a backfiring threat. And
Yeah,
look, it's a total flex move on President Trump's part. I'm not being critical of it. I'm not saying it's the wrong flex move. And to your point, what he's riding on, and again, justifiably so, is the fact that United States of America, what we are hands down, bar none, the best at in the world is consumption. We
yeah,
consume a lot of stuff, and that's the hope is that there's enough of a play there to let these threats, play themselves out and work to our benefit. But
Yeah.
now looking at the second article we have for today, two countries officially agreed to ditch the US dollar for trade.
Right.
Now, this is all these countries know that what's going on with Trump, what's going on with tariffs, and the potential repercussions there. With that being said, the two countries that we're talking about here, India and Indonesia.
Hmm.
And why I want to take a moment to really kind of point that part out, and really that's my main stress in looking at this article today. If you were to see this, two countries officially agree to ditch the dollar. If it was China and Russia, like, okay, well, of course, there's always been this kind of, let's call it somewhat of an antagonistic relationship there. India has really been, kind of just a passive participant, so to speak. But they're saying, you know what, we're going to look to do our domestic trade with our local currency, even
Hmm.
with the threat of whatever these tariffs might bring. So if you take a country now, India is not perhaps importing as much stuff, not perhaps as what China is, let's say.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they kind of their economy as a whole is really needing and dependent upon whatever trade and commerce that they can generate. So if they're doing this, I mean, I don't see, and I'm going to ask you, like, why, what is going to stop all these other nations who've already said they have an interest in doing this, or they want to do it? What's going to stop them from jumping on board?
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think anything is really going to stop them. I think the key is maybe slowing them down. And this is I would call this a baby step. India is just specifically in this instance talking with Indonesia about the specific trade they do between their two nations. So is this move going to affect the dollar in and of itself? No. It's small enough. But again, it's a baby step down that path of complete de-dollarization. And this just happened. This is all fresh, so we're still going to see more info come out. This just happened over the weekend, but they are emphasizing how it's important to move this along quickly. So they are trying to get it out there and get it moving now. And I'm sure we'll see, in the coming week here, maybe some tweets or something come out of the White House as to their opinion of it. But what's interesting. Indonesia just joined BRICS, and they're already moving this quickly with India to work within their own currencies. So it's definitely just another nail in the coffin, I think, at this point. And the dollar is we're still okay overall. I'm not a doom and gloom type person, but we are consistently moving towards this path of nations dumping the dollar. And I think ironically, what a lot of them are thinking is, let's make India great again. Let's make Indonesia great again. It's worked well for Trump, and now these other nations are kind of following suit and wanting to bolster their own economies and take care of themselves. And we're gonna have to just see how it plays out. But it's certainly not a positive thing for the dollar.
You just gave me a great idea. And in so much as it's India, we could probably do it very inexpensively. Instead of MAGA hats, we'll make MIGA hats, make India great again hats. Maybe not use red, but we'll pick, I don't even know
Yeah.
what a good local color for India would
The,
be, but we we could create our own movement. So
there's billions of potential buyers, I can tell you
that's for
that.
sure. Well, here's the thing. I'm optimistic that President Trump is going to handle this well, and that things are going to get better. It From my humble perspective, however, this just seems like a giant mess. I mean, a
Yeah.
giant mess for a plethora of reasons. Everybody is betting on and bargaining for their own interest, their own benefit. But beyond that, like you take this hard stance with tariffs against one nation. but what if there is an import that we really kind of desperately need for whatever reason?
Right.
So like, how do you like, it's like grounding your kid and saying, okay, but yeah, if you want, you can still go out here or something like that. Like it's just, it's a
Right.
tangled web. And
Yep.
that's the thing that I don't envy President Trump, but let's not lose sight of the fact this isn't about President Trump. This is about you and I and every single family or household in the United States of America. This is not a Trump issue. This is just,
Yeah.
how is our currency, our country, our economy going to be able to navigate itself through this mess, if you will. So how you can learn more about the mess if you contact our office at 1-800-289-2646. Ask for your free copy of The Secret War on Cash. And if you are looking at ways to better protect yourself more specifically financially by way of gold and silver, we have a ton of very informative and educational type resources there as well. Visit us online, www.swissamerica.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, please do so as we look forward to talking to you more in the future. Thank you, Chris. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.